It's time to check out the deck. Today we're running a Stormless storm deck helmed by Morophon the Boundless. Morophon reduces the casting cost of our cats to play them for free. We also have Kahira, the Orphan Guard, as our cat companion. A cat lord giving +1/+1 in vigilance to our cat army. For our combo to work we need ways to draw. We are running multiple enchantments that draw us cards when our cats are cast or enter the battlefield. This allows us to cast free cat after free cat as long as we are lucky enough to draw them. We're running 25 cats for our cat combo engine to run smoothly. Fast mana will help us to play Morophon and allow us to add mana from our card draw to play other spells too. These 8 tutors will help us find any missing pieces we need to get our cat engine going. Widespread Thieving lets us produce treasure whenever we cast a multicolor spell, letting us add lots of mana. Enchantments like Cryptolith Rite and Sorcerer class let our cats add mana after we cast them to cast any spells we need. We need some enchantments to give our cats haste to let them tap for mana. After we have our cats tapping for mana, we can untap them with some spells for more value and finish the game. Panharmonicon and Reflections are some nice value cards to help our combo. For our lands, World Tree helps fix our mana. Since we want to combo off and win in one turn, we are okay to sacrifice a land or two to help produce more mana. We are running lots of basics for untapped sources, a few ramp lands, and generic fixing lands as well. We're ready to play, so let's join a casual room for some Stormless Storm Cat combo. Thundercats go. We choose our companion and the game begins. Our opponents are playing Cormella, Glamour Thief, Captain Sisay, and Mirim, Sentinel Worm. We decide to keep our hand because Ren and Seri can produce a lot of creatures to later tap for mana, and Monument can help reduce our spells and pump Morophon in the storm for a commander kill if we're lucky. Mirim starts the game and plays a Frontier Bivouac, then passes the turn. We put a Savage Lands onto the battlefield, tap then pass. Cormella plays a Swamp then passes the turn. Sisay plays everyone's favorite start to a game with a Plains into a Sol Ring. Turn 2 Mirim plays a Mountain and then passes the turn. Turn 2 we play a Command Tower and pass the turn as well. Turn 2 Cormella casts a Bloodtithe Harvest creating a blood token and passes the turn. Turn 2 Sisay plays a Forest. Then plays a Sylvan Library and passes the turn. Turn 3 Mirim plays a Forest then passes the turn. For our turn 3, we play an Island and decide between playing Widespread Thieving or Ronas's Monument. We decide to cast Widespread Thieving since we have a number of multicolored spells in our hand. When Widespread Thieving enters the battlefield, Hideaway triggers. We decide to choose Flying Crane technique, which can untap all of our creatures and give them double strike when we cast it. Cormella plays a Swamp, then decides to cast Restless Bloodseeker. Afterwards, they sacrifice their blood token to discard an Evolving Wilds to draw a card. Bloodtithe Harvester attacks Sisay for 3 damage. Sisay begins turn 3 with a Sylvan Library trigger and chooses not to pay any life. They play a Command Tower and then cast Kolvori, God of Kinship. Turn 4, Mirim plays an Island and then casts a Frontier Siege choosing Dragons. So whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under their control, they may have it fight a creature they don't control. Turn 4 we draw a Vampiric Tutor, but miss a land drop for our turn. We decide to cast Grizzled Liatao to make a treasure token from Thievery and save some life total as a blocker. Turn 4 Cormella plays a Field of Ruin and sacrifices it to blow up Mirim's Frontier Bivouac. This results in each player searching for a basic land. We find a Swamp and put it onto the battlefield untapped, letting us cast Vampiric Tutor without sacrificing our treasure before our turn. Cormella moves to combat and swings with Bloodtithe Harvester at Mirim. Mirim takes 3 damage. Turn 4 Sisay decides to keep a card from the Sylvan Library trigger and loses 4 life. They cast Nissa Vastwood Seer and search their library for a snow-covered forest. They play the land from their hand and pass the turn. Mirim untaps their lands and begins turn 5 by playing a Mountain and casting a Mirror Box. Mirim has no other plays and goes to their end step. At the end of turn, we cast our Vampiric Tutor. Although we are missing our land drops, we decide to miss another one to put Temur Ascendancy on top. We start our 5th turn, draw the Temur Ascendancy and then cast it. When we cast it, we create a treasure token from our Widespread Thieving. We choose to leave our cat on defense. Nice kitty. And pass the turn. Turn 5, Cormella plays a Mountain and then casts Crushing Disappointment. This spell draws Cormella 2 cards and makes each player lose 2 life. Cormella moves to combat and swings with Restless Bloodseeker at Mirim. Mirim takes 1 damage. Cormella goes to the end step and Captain Sisay activates Kolvori, God of Kinship, to look at the top 6 cards of their library. They put a Shalai, Voice of Plenty, into their hand. Captain Sisay starts their turn 5. They choose not to pay life to draw cards with their Sylvan library this turn. They cast Nylea, Keen-Eyed. Captain Sisay moves to combat. They attack Mirim with Nisa, Vastwood Seer. They attack us with the 6/6 Kolvori, God of Kinship. We decide to keep our cat and take 6 damage. Mirim takes 2 damage. Turn 6, Mirim plays a Riverglide pathway. They cast a Cultivate. They put an island onto the battlefield tapped and a forest into their hand. Mirim decides to pass the turn. Turn 6, we draw a forest and put it onto the battlefield. We tap our 5 lands and sacrifice our 2 treasures to play Zendikar Resurgent. We keep our cat as a blocker and pass our turn. Turn 6, Cormella plays their first blue mana source with a tapped Port of Karfell. Cormella casts a Markov Retribution. They choose both modes to pump their creatures by +1/+0 and targeting Bloodtithe Harvester to deal 3 damage to Sisay's Nisa, Vastwood Seer. Cormella moves to their attack step and swings with both vampires at Mirim. Mirim takes 6 damage and goes down to 26. Captain Sisay starts their turn 6 and takes 4 damage from Sylvan Library to draw an additional card. They play a Plains and then cast a Seedborn Muse, allowing them to untap all of their permanents each upkeep. Then they cast a Growing Rites of Idlamok and put an Eternal Witness into their hand from the Enter the Battlefield trigger. Next, they tap their Kolvori, God of Kinship, to reveal a Ridane, God of the Worthy, and put it into their hand. They move to combat and swing at us with a 6/6 Nylea, Keen-Eyed. We decide to keep our cat and take 6 damage, leaving us at 25 health. Mirim starts turn 7, but Captain Sisay's permanents also untap during the upkeep step from Seedborn Muse. Mirim plays a forest and then casts their commander Mirim, Sentinel Worm, allowing them to create tokens of dragons that enter the battlefield. When Mirim enters the battlefield, it triggers Frontier Siege. They decide to have Mirim fight with Cormella's Restless Bloodseeker. Mirim has no more plays, so Captain Sisay activates Kolvori, God of Kinship, to reveal Talia, Guardian of Thraben, and put it into their hand. Next, Captain Sisay activates Nylea, Keen-Eyed's activated ability to draw Talia, Guardian of Thraben. Then, Mirim ends their turn. Turn 7, we untap and have 10 mana so far at our disposal thanks to Zendikar Resurgent. We cast Morophon, naming Cat and drawing a card from Zendikar. When Morophon enters the battlefield, we draw another card from Temur Ascendancy's trigger. We think about our turn and play a mountain. We tap our mountain and use our blue floating to cast Ronus Monument. This reduces our casting cost of green creatures by 1 and can pump a creature by +2/+2 whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control. This lets us cast Rin and Seri for no mana, triggering our Zendikar Resurgence, Ronus Monument, and Widespread Thieving. We target Morophon with our Ronus trigger. We create a treasure, draw a card, and pump. When Ren enters the battlefield, we draw another card from our Temur Ascendancy. We follow that play by casting another free kitty, Jetmir's Fixer, in hopes to draw more cats. The loop continues, drawing more cards and creating another treasure. But now we also get a dog token from Ren and Seri as well. We sack a treasure and tap our command tower to cast Sorcerer class, making a treasure from thieving. We draw 2 and decide to discard 2 lands from our hand. With no more cats in hand, we decide to level up our Sorcerer class to let us tap our creatures to help us cast instant or sorcery spells. This lets us sacrifice a treasure and tap 2 of our creatures to cast Idyllic Tutor. With some different options we choose from, we decide to choose Sterling Grove to provide some protection to our enchantments. We move to combat and decide to swing at Captain Sisay with our 10/10 Trampling Morophon commander thanks to our Ronus Monument triggers this turn. They block with their Indestructible God and only take 4 damage from trample. We pass the turn, but Captain Sisay activates their Kolvari, God of Kinship, and their Nylea, Keen-Eyed, to draw another creature. Turn 7, Cormella untaps and casts Grisly Ritual targeting Mirim, Sentinel Worm. Unfortunately, they don't notice the Ward 2 trigger and their spell gets countered. They go to pass their turn, but Captain Sisay uses Kolvori, God of Kinship, to put Selvala, Explorer, return to their hand. Then, they use Nylea, Keen-Eyed's ability to draw Kamal's Druidic Vow. Turn 7, Sisay chooses not to pay life for Sylvan Library. Cormella decides to concede the game. An unexpected GG. Captain Sisay moves to combat and swings at us with their 6/6 Nylea, Keen-Eyed. We decide to block with our Grizzled Liatau. Then they cast a Shalai, Voice of Plenty, giving their other creatures hexproof. After, they cast Day of Destiny, giving their legendary creatures +2/+2. They cast Talia, Guardian of Thraden. It taxes non-creature spells by 1 colorless mana. At end of turn, Growing Rites of Itlamok flips into Itlamok, Cradle of the Sun, giving Sisay a Gaia's Cradle. Mirim casts a Kilnmouth Dragon and reveals 3 dragons to amplify 3, giving it 9+1/+1 counters, making it a 14/14 flying dragon. They target Shalai, Voice of Plenty, with the Frontier Siege fight trigger. In response, Sisay uses Shalai to put a +1 counter on each creature they control. Mirim makes a copy of Kilnmouth Dragon and once again amplifies 3, revealing 3 dragons. The Frontier Siege triggers and the new Kilnmouth Dragon token fights Sisay's Seedborn Muse. Mirim passes the turn. Turn 8, we start the turn by paying 3 to put our companion Kahira into our hand. We cast Sterling Grove to give our enchantments Shroud. We cast Kahira and trigger Thieving, Monument, and Zendikar Resurgent. We target Morophon with the Monument Pump trigger. When Kahira enters the battlefield, we draw a card from Temur Ascendancy. We cast Glittering Links to draw Create a Dog and pump our Morophon again. We tap a few creatures to level up our Sorcerer class to level 3. We cast Illicit Shipment and sacrifice our Jedmir's Fixer to pay for the Casualty 3 cost. We search for a Civil Servant and a Rakshasa Deathdealer so that we can cast some more free cats. We cast the Deathdealer first and get more cards and another treasure. We play an island and tap all of our creatures for Thoughtweft Gambit. This untaps our creatures and taps our opponent's creatures. Our Sorcerer class deals 2 to each opponent and we make a treasure. Captain Sisay scoops in the face of the cat combo. GG. We tap all of our cats for mana and cast our Civil Servant. We use the Hideaway ability on Thieving to cast Flying Crane Technique. Sorcery class deals 3 to our opponents. Flying Crane Technique untaps all of our creatures and gives them flying and double strike until end of turn. We draw some cards and draw another cat, Regal Leosaur. We cast our new cat and the Stormless Storm continues. We play Garruk's Uprising for even more card draw. We cast a Savannah Lions and the loop continues with Draw, Dog Token, and Ronnie's Pump. Our opponent's fate is sealed and they scoop to the power of the Stormless Storm Cat combo. GG Mirim. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and comment to help algorithm and support the channel. Thanks.